In the book of Revelation, a profound and mysterious vision unfolds before John, revealing events that will shape the future and test humanity's faith. Chapter 12 begins with a celestial spectacle, a woman adorned with the sun, standing on the moon and wearing a crown of 12 stars. This image, not a literal woman but a symbolic representation, signifies something deeply significant. Throughout biblical history, such symbolic imagery has often represented Israel, the church, or a maternal figure, conveying divine messages of hope and warning. As John describes, this woman enters a period of labor, symbolizing a time of trial and struggle. She gives birth to a child who embodies Christ's redemptive mission, setting the stage for a cosmic battle between good and evil. The dragon, a fearsome entity with 7 heads, 10 horns, and diadems on its heads, represents Satan's relentless opposition to the forces of goodness and truth. This apocalyptic drama unfolds not merely as a literal tale, but as a spiritual allegory of cosmic proportions, offering insights into the ultimate clash between God's plan for salvation and the forces of darkness. The imagery in Revelation 12, with its symbolic figures and celestial signs, invites deeper contemplation about the spiritual forces at play in the world. It challenges believers to consider the reality of spiritual warfare and the enduring hope found in Christ's victory. Each detail, whether the woman clothed in the sun, the dragon's menacing appearance, or the child symbolizing divine grace, serves as a revelation that transcends time and speaks to the eternal struggle between good and evil as foretold in biblical prophecy. Revelation 12 unveils a tapestry of symbolic visions that point to profound truths about faith, redemption, and the ultimate triumph of God's kingdom. It encourages believers to remain steadfast amid trials, knowing that the struggles of today are part of a larger cosmic narrative where God's sovereignty and justice will ultimately prevail. This chapter serves not only as a glimpse into the future, but also as a timeless reminder of the spiritual battles humanity faces and the hope found in trusting God's promises. In the book of Revelation, several female figures symbolize different concepts and entities. One such figure is Jezebel, who represents a religious system spreading deceptive teachings. In Revelation 2:20, there is a strong condemnation of those tolerating Jezebel, who calls herself a prophetess and leads believers into immorality and eating food sacrificed to idols. Another significant female figure is the great prostitute, associated with religious idolatry. Revelation 17:2 describes her as seducing the kings of the earth with her fornication and causing the inhabitants of the earth to become intoxicated with her debauchery. Contrastingly, the bride symbolizes the church in Revelation 19:7-8. The bride prepares for the Lamb's wedding by wearing fine linen, which represents the righteousness and virtuous actions of the saints. The dragon, a symbol of Satan, introduces more calamities and destruction. In Revelation 12:4, the dragon's tail sweeps a third of the stars from the sky to the earth, positioning itself to devour a woman's newborn child. Verse 9 identifies the dragon as the ancient serpent, the devil, and Satan, known for deceiving the world. God created angels with the ability to experience joy and achieve great feats, granting them free will to choose between following God or rebelling against Him. Some, like Michael and his angels, remained loyal, while others became fierce opponents of God. The birth of a boy destined to rule all nations with strength, an allusion to Jesus Christ, is also mentioned. Jesus judges the nations with His word, symbolized by a sharp sword from His mouth, leading them with an iron rod and executing God's wrath on the rebellious. The dragon's attempt to devour the child mirrors King Herod's effort to kill baby Jesus, as narrated in Matthew 2:16-18. This passage describes Herod's rage and massacre of boys in Bethlehem, fulfilling Jeremiah's prophecy about Rachel weeping for her children. The woman in Revelation 12, who gives birth to the boy destined to lead all nations, represents Israel rather than the church, as Jesus establishes the church. The dragon's failed attempts to eliminate Christ highlight Satan's continuous opposition to Him. The woman's labor pains are a prophetic vision mentioned in other Old Testament texts like Micah 4:9-10, further supporting the interpretation that the woman symbolizes Israel. Micah's prophecy evokes a vivid image of anguish and suffering for Zion, likening it to the pain of a woman in labor. This metaphor emphasizes the intense turmoil and distress that will befall the people of Israel, leading them into captivity in Babylon. Despite these dire circumstances, Micah also foresees a future redemption by the Lord from the hands of their enemies. This promise of liberation offers hope amidst the nation's suffering, symbolized by the metaphor of labor pains, which suggests that out of their struggles will emerge a renewed and purified people, ultimately culminating in the birth of the Messiah. Similarly, the book of Revelation echoes this theme of spiritual struggle and divine protection. It describes a celestial battle where Michael and his angels confront the dragon, symbolizing Satan, who is cast down to the earth along with his followers. This cosmic conflict underscores the ongoing spiritual warfare faced by believers, marked by persecution and adversity, yet assured of God's ultimate protection. Satan's tactics include accusations against God's faithful, but Revelation reassures that through the sacrificial victory of Christ, believers triumph over the adversary. This victory is celebrated in heaven, proclaiming the arrival of redemption and the establishment of God's kingdom. Both Micah and Revelation portray periods of intense suffering and spiritual conflict, yet they affirm the certainty of God's deliverance and victory. These texts highlight the enduring hope that God's redemptive plan will prevail, bringing ultimate liberation and salvation to his people, despite the trials they face. The imagery of labor pains in Micah's prophecy and the celestial battle in Revelation serve as powerful reminders of God's sovereignty over human history and his promise of eternal deliverance for those who remain faithful. In Revelation 12:13-17, after being cast down to earth, Satan, depicted as a dragon, chases the woman who gave birth to a male child. However, the woman is given 2 wings of a great eagle, symbolizing divine help, allowing her to flee to a wilderness refuge where she is protected during difficult times. Satan, in desperation, attempts to flood her out with water, but the earth swallows the flood, saving her. Enraged by his failure, the dragon turns his wrath towards the woman's other children, who are described as those who obey God's commandments and uphold the testimony of Jesus. This narrative emphasizes the ongoing battle between good and evil, highlighting the divine protection over the faithful. This passage revisits and expands on the idea presented earlier in verse 6, where the woman flees to the wilderness for safety during a time of trial. The imagery of the eagle's wings recalls God's protection of the Israelites during the Exodus 19:4. Despite Satan's relentless pursuit of God's followers, his efforts are ultimately unsuccessful, which only fuels his anger. He directs his hostility towards other believers who remain faithful to Jesus and God's commandments. This section of Revelation underscores the spiritual warfare that spans human history and emphasizes Christ's ultimate victory over evil. It serves as a reminder for believers to stay steadfast in their faith, knowing that God's promise of salvation and protection remains unwavering.
If you found this video enjoyable, please consider liking and sharing it. Additionally, subscribing to this channel will ensure that you receive more updates in the future. Thank you.